By morning, Amina woke up to see the sky full of black birds. She immediately knew within her heart that something was wrong, as this was not an ordinary sight. She decided to return back to her village and noticed that her village was now crawling with snakes. Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Amina. Amina was known around her village for her kindness and unparalleled beauty. She lived with her grandmother, who took ill and died one hot afternoon. Before her grandmother died, she entrusted a hijab to Amina, warning her of the value it held. Amina's grandmother warned her never to wear the hijab, especially at night, but she never told her reason why. After her grandmother died, Amina could not resist the urge to wear the hijab because of its intricate design that drew the attention of anyone who set their eyes on it. One day, Amina was returning home when a very rich woman caught sight of the hijab and fell in love with it. She offered Amina a huge sum of money for the hijab, but Amina refused the money, telling the woman that no amount of money was worth her grandmother's hijab. The rich woman did not seem pleased with Amina's reply and decided to take matters into her own hands. Determined to possess Amina's hijab, the rich woman plotted and schemed, watching Amina from a distance. The next day, Amina returned home and noticed that her hut had been ransacked. She was so shocked, as this had never happened before. Amina wondered who could have done this as she began to arrange her hut. Not long afterwards, she noticed a group of villagers gathered outside her hut. They claimed that staring at her hijab earlier that day healed them of their disease and wanted to thank Amina for their healing. It was then that Amina realized the power of her grandmother's hijab. A few days later, Amina was preparing some food to eat when she heard a knock on her door. She approached her door to see who it was and caught sight of a very old woman who warned her of a looming danger. Amina, confused as to what the old woman was talking about, asked for some clarity, but before she knew what was happening, the old woman disappeared in front of her eyes, leaving her in utter confusion. Amina, afraid of what might happen to her if she remained in her hut alone, decided to hurriedly rush to her friend's hut, which was in the neighboring village across the village river. It was almost getting dark, so Amina rushed as fast as her legs could carry her towards the village river to catch a canoe. On her way, she met the rich woman and some hefty-looking men who stopped her to forcefully take her hijab. The rich woman told Amina that no one ever says no to her and that Amina would give her the hijab whether she likes it or not. Amina tried to explain to the woman that the hijab was no ordinary hijab, but the woman and her thugs forcefully took the hijab off Amina and walked away. Amina tried to stop them, but they subdued her and walked off with the hijab. Sad and devastated, Amina cried aloud as she proceeded to her friend's hut in the neighboring village. She had bruises all over her body, and her friend was shocked to see her in such a state. Amina explained all that happened to her friend, who helped her nurse her wounds. By morning, Amina woke up to see the sky full of black birds. She immediately knew within her heart that something was wrong, as this was not an ordinary sight. She decided to return back to her village and noticed that her village was now crawling with snakes. There was no one in sight, but only snakes. This sight terrified Amina, who could not help but think that the villagers had all turned into snakes. She was so terrified as she knew that this was linked to her powerful hijab, which the rich woman forcefully took from her the day before. Her grandmother had warned her before she died that the hijab should never be worn at night time, and Amina knew that the rich woman would have worn the hijab at night, not knowing about the warning, and this had unleashed the curse of the hijab upon the entire village. Amina, unsure of how to lift the curse, stood in the middle of the village, filled with guilt and sadness. Her heart was heavy as she could not stop blaming herself for disobeying her grandmother by wearing the hijab in the first place. The guilt weighed heavily in her heart as she felt responsible for what had happened to members of her village who were now snakes. Amina in that moment knew that she had to find a way to undo the curse of the hijab. She decided to go to her grandmother's hut as she believed the solution would lie within the hut. She walked briskly to the hut and began to ransack the whole place, hoping to find something helpful. Amina searched for hours but couldn't find anything she believed would help to lift the curse. As she was about leaving her grandmother's hut, she saw the cursed hijab laying on the table in front of her. Amina was shocked at how the hijab found its way back to her grandmother's hut. She stared at the hijab, wondering what she would do with it. Despite being afraid, she stretched forth her hand to pick the hijab up when she heard a voice which spoke to her, saying that the hijab was both a curse and a remedy. Amina, desperate for a solution, listened intently to the mysterious voice, which explained that the hijab held ancient powers capable of both causing and reversing the curse. The voice told Amina that to reverse the curse, she had to go to the village river and dip the hijab into the river very early in the morning, and then squeeze the water into her grandmother's special calabash. The voice told her to sprinkle the water around the village, as this will neutralize the curse and transform the villagers back to their normal selves. Amina was so excited to hear this and waited till morning. When morning finally arrived, she set out to the riverside and did as the voice had instructed her to. She then sprinkled the water from the calabash around the village, and the snakes transformed back into their human form. The once cursed villagers stood before her as they thanked her for saving them from the curse. The rich woman who brought the calamity upon the village approached Amina filled with remorse. Having lived as a snake for days, the rich woman regretted ever taking what did not belong to her and learnt her lesson the hard way. She apologized to Amina for all she did, and Amina, demonstrating the kindness that defied her, forgave the woman, emphasizing the importance of humility and understanding. Amina, on seeing the calamity brought about by the hijab, decided never to wear the hijab again. She kept it hidden in her grandmother's hut, and for years, despite the fact that Amina never wore the powerful hijab, the hijab retained its power, which protected her all through the days of her life. The lesson to be learned from this story is that our actions have consequences. We should never take that which belongs to others, as we might bring curses upon ourselves by doing so. Treat people the way you would like to be treated, as we are humans first, before anything else. I hope you enjoyed the story.
Like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.